Donuts may look harmless, sweet treats with coffee on the side, but for seniors, they can hide dangerous risks: trans fats, sky-high sugar, and even stores caught with shocking health violations. What seems like a quick indulgence could mean long-term damage. Today, we're exposing 9 donut chains you should avoid at all costs, and the 2 that are actually safe to trust. Starting things from number 9, Dunkin', the coffee giant hiding sugar bombs and dirty secrets. For decades, this chain built its name on fast coffee and donuts that felt like a morning ritual. But behind the counter, the reality is far less appetizing. Each donut can pack 250 to 400 calories, with 12 to 15 grams of fat. That's before you even add cream and sugar to the coffee. Seniors are hit the hardest. One Boston cream can spike blood sugar faster than a soda. Doctors warn that regular indulgence pushes older customers toward diabetes, heart strain, and weight gain, all from a treat that feels light in the moment. Would you risk your heart for a jelly-filled? Because here's the shocker. Some Dunkin' stores have failed health inspections back-to-back. Reports from states like New York and Massachusetts reveal pests spotted near storage, improper refrigeration, and grease-soaked prep areas. Customers have complained about sugar glaze crusting on machines, counters left sticky for hours, and coffee stations reeking of sour milk. One whistleblower even described dough trays stacked on the floor where rodents could easily climb in. And it doesn't stop at cleanliness. Dunkin' has been repeatedly criticized for using trans fats and hydrogenated oils in its pastries, long after many competitors phased them out. Trans fats are the enemy of arteries, raising bad cholesterol, lowering the good kind, and putting older customers at double risk for heart disease. Here's the real shocker. Nutrition breakdowns show that some of these so-called specialty donuts sneak in more sugar than an entire can of cola. And it doesn't stop there. Along with the syrupy glaze, you're swallowing enough carbs to spike your blood sugar like a rocket. For someone over 50, that isn't just a sweet treat, it's a health risk. Think shaky hands, dizzy spells, pounding heart, and blood pressure that shoots up before you've even finished the last bite. Sticky pink frosting clinging to a tray that hasn't been scrubbed, flies circling near the glaze, and coffee stirred with spoons left in murky rinse water. It's not just unappetizing, it's unsafe. Dunkin' may have the most stores, but scale doesn't equal safety. And seniors, who need food safety and stable nutrition the most, get the worst deal here. Ever had a bad Dunkin' experience? Drop it in the comments. We want to hear your horror stories. And if you thought Dunkin' was bad, wait until you see Krispy Kreme, the chain with the hot sign glowing, and the kitchens hiding the filth behind it. At number 8, Krispy Kreme, famous for glowing signs, infamous for glowing sugar numbers. The hot now light flips on, the crowd leans in, and a conveyor river of glaze shimmers like liquid candy. Looks cozy, feels nostalgic, but one bite can hit harder than a soda. More sugar than a candy bar in one bite. Here's the math that matters. Many classics average 20-25 grams of sugar each, with 200-350 calories before you've even sipped the coffee. For seniors, that's a blood sugar slingshot. Glucose surges, then crashes. Hands shake, head swims, pressure climbs. Add a sweet latte, and you've just stacked the deck against your heart and pancreas before 10 a.m. Now, the part they don't put in commercials. Health inspectors have flagged stores for improper food storage and dirty prep areas. Think trays left near warm equipment, cream fillings sitting too long, and glaze buckets with crusted rims that should have been scrubbed hours ago. Staff forums talk about rush hours where sanitation pauses to keep the line moving. Translation: sticky floors, sticky tongs, and a sink that looks like syrup fought a losing battle. You won't believe what's lurking behind that glaze. Picture the back room, racks lacquered with dried syrup, glaze strings hardening like cobwebs, and a mop bucket that smells like yesterday's frosting. A worker lifts a donut with fingers that just touched a fridge handle slick with caramel residue. One sneeze, one missed hand wash, and your treat becomes a germ shuttle. Seniors with weaker immune systems pay the highest price for these shortcuts. Consistency is a second problem. Some locations are tidy and sharp. Others, you'll notice the clammy texture on a donut that sat under the heat too long, the gummy interior where dough didn't proof right, or oil that tastes stale because it wasn't filtered on schedule. Your taste buds know when the fryer is tired. Your stomach will confirm it later. And let's talk just one more. 2 original glazed can push 40-50 grams of sugar. That's dessert territory dressed up as breakfast. Blood pressure doesn't care that the box is cute. Arteries don't care that it's hot now. What's the sweetest mistake you've ever eaten? If you've got a Krispy Kreme horror story, stale rings, sticky counters, funky coffee, name and shame in the comments. Your tip might save someone a miserable morning. Ready for the next surprise? We're heading north. The next chain sells comfort by the dozen and nostalgia by the cup, but the kitchens tell a different story. Taking the seventh spot, Tim Hortons, the Canadian comfort hiding some very uncomfortable truths. Walk in, and you see rows of maple dips, Boston creams, and crullers that look freshly baked. The smell of coffee fills the air. But the truth? That fresh donut has been sitting in a freezer for weeks. Think it's a fresh maple dip? Think again. Most Tim Hortons donuts are mass-produced in factories, frozen, then shipped out. Stores thaw them, maybe reheat, and line them up like they were made that morning. It's efficient, sure, but it kills quality. Customers think they're buying local, but what they're actually eating is corporate pastry shipped in bulk, laced with cheap oils and preservatives to stretch shelf life. Here's where it gets worse. Freezer-burned donuts show up more often than you'd think. Workers have posted online about thawed pastries sweating in boxes, glaze dripping off in patches, and fillings separating after sitting too long. Picture biting into what should be a fluffy donut, only to find a clammy texture and a taste closer to cardboard than dessert. Health inspections back this up. Reports cite dirty kitchens and mishandled baked goods, improper storage, expired ingredients, and even insects spotted near prep counters. Staff forums describe sinks left clogged with crumbs, mop water that smells like sour milk, and thawed trays left uncovered while flies circle. For seniors whose immune systems can't fight bacteria as easily, these shortcuts are more than gross. They're dangerous. You won't believe how far this comfort chain has fallen. Nutritionally, the picture isn't any better. A single Boston cream clocks in at 300 calories and 16 grams of sugar. Pair it with their double-double coffee and you're looking at a sugar surge that can hammer blood pressure and spike insulin levels. For older customers, that's a risky way to start the morning. And here's the kicker. Tim Hortons built its brand on being Canada's cozy, reliable stop. Families grew up on Timbits. Seniors still line up with grandkids on weekends. But behind that reputation is a chain that cut corners, quality dropped, and safety fell with it. Would you still eat them if you knew they were frozen first? If you've ever bitten into a Tim Hortons donut and thought it tasted stale, or noticed a store that looked more grimy than welcoming, share it in the comments. Your story might open someone's eyes before they buy their next box of Timbits. Before we continue, want to stay ahead of food dangers and hidden risks? Hit subscribe now so you don't miss the facts that could protect your health. Shipley Donuts is up next, and the details will make your stomach turn. At number 6, Shipley Donuts, a southern staple with kitchens you don't want to see. For generations, families across Texas and the South have treated Shipley as a weekend tradition. The name carries nostalgia, but step behind the counter and the shine fades fast. What's lurking behind the glaze? Reports from multiple locations point to the same issues: filthy prep areas, grease buildup, and pests near fryers. Health inspections have caught floors slick with oil, food stored at unsafe temperatures, and trays stacked without covers. Customers walking into some stores notice the smell before the donuts, the sour odor of old grease that never got filtered. Whistleblowers have described kitchens where rats scurry near fryers and cockroaches crawl behind counters. One employee admitted, "We were told to sweep them out and keep serving." That's not tradition, that's contamination. For seniors with weaker immune systems, even a small dose of bacteria can mean food poisoning or worse. And the grease? Picture kitchen tiles blackened with layers of buildup, fryers coated in a sticky brown film, and ceiling vents dripping like a faucet that never got fixed. That sort of environment doesn't just ruin flavor, it creates a perfect breeding ground for mold, cockroaches, and rodents. Now imagine ordering a simple glazed donut, expecting sweet comfort, only to bite down and taste rancid oil that coats your tongue like burnt wax. It lingers in your mouth, sour and heavy, long after the bite is gone. That's not breakfast. That's a gamble with your gut, and the odds are stacked against you. Would you eat knowing pests are part of the kitchen? Nutritionally, Shipley doesn't redeem itself either. Many of their glazed classics push over 300 calories and carry more sugar than a candy bar. Seniors already watching their blood pressure and cholesterol end up with sugar spikes, dizzy spells, and digestive stress. Pair that with contamination risk, and you're looking at one of the most dangerous chains to trust. Customers have shared their experiences online. Donuts tasting days old, coffee stations left sticky and unwashed, and boxes with crumbs that look reused. When even loyal fans say, "I walked out, it smelled off," you know there's a problem. So, Here's the question for you. Ever walked out of a donut shop in disgust? Drop your story in the comments. We need to know which locations deserve a warning. Shipley's may market itself as comfort food, but comfort doesn't come with rats by the fryer. And if you thought the South had problems, the West has its own gamble waiting. Up next is Winchell's, a chain where cleanliness is inconsistent at best and downright frightening at worst. Landing at number 5, Winchell's, where donuts come with a side of risk. On the surface, this West Coast chain looks harmless. Bright counters, colorful displays, and that sugary smell that pulls you in. But behind the glass, things are far less appetizing. Ever bitten into a donut that tasted like last week? Winchell's has built a reputation on inconsistency. One location might hand you a warm, fluffy glazed ring. The next, you're chewing on something stale, rubbery, and sour at the edges. Customers across California, Nevada, and Colorado have reported donuts left out at unsafe temperatures, pastries that taste like they've been reheated twice, and counters that look like they haven't been wiped all day. Health inspections don't do them any favors. Records show mold specks on glazes, food stored in bins without lids, and cream-filled donuts left sitting too long at room temp. An ex-employee admitted, "We'd box up donuts that were a day old and still call them fresh." That's not customer service. That's a slow invitation to food poisoning. Here's the shocker. Mold doesn't always show on day one. The coffee stations are another problem. Reviews mention sour-smelling pots and creamers left sweating outside refrigeration. Walk into the wrong shop and you'll notice that burnt smell hanging in the air. Now picture dipping a stale donut into coffee brewed in a pot with a film on top. Breakfast just turned into regret. Seniors are especially at risk. Older stomachs can't fight bacteria as easily. Eating donuts that sat out too long, or sipping coffee made with expired creamer, can mean hours of nausea, blood sugar spikes, or worse. And with many Winchell's donuts pushing 250 mg, 350 calories each with 15-20 grams of sugar, you're not just gambling with taste, you're gambling with your health. Customers online keep repeating the same complaints over and over again. Dirty counters, donuts that taste like they've been sitting out for days, and coffee so bad I had to toss it. When reviews stack up like that across different stores and different cities, it's not just a random slip-up. It points to a system that's broken from the inside out, where poor standards become the norm and disappointment is baked right into the menu. What's the stalest donut you've ever had? Drop your story in the comments. I bet someone's had a worse one, but yours might come close. Winchell's sells nostalgia, but too often it delivers disappointment. And if you think that's bad, Daylight Donuts makes inconsistency its entire business model. The franchise where your breakfast could swing from decent to downright dangerous in one bite. At number 4, Daylight Donuts, a franchise where your luck depends on the location. With over 400 stores scattered across the U.S., this chain runs on a loose franchise model. That means each shop is left to its own devices, and the results? Wildly different. One fresh shop, one rotten shop. Are you willing to gamble? Some stores get it right. The counters are clean, the donuts taste decent, and customers walk away happy. But others? They're disasters. Health inspections reveal expired ingredients shoved into bins, cream fillings way past date, and storage so sloppy it's shocking they passed at all. In Oklahoma, one inspection flagged improper refrigeration, with cream left out until it was sour. That custard-filled donut could just as easily be bacteria-filled. Customers online echo the same theme. Great one day, awful the next. The lack of consistency makes Daylight a dangerous game for seniors. Older bodies don't bounce back from food poisoning the way younger ones do. A single donut made with expired cream or butter gone rancid can lead to stomach cramps, dehydration, or worse. You won't believe what some shops leave under hot lamps. Reviews mention donuts sweating under heat lamps for hours, glaze cracking, and fillings turning watery. One whistleblower employee admitted, "We reused old dough for fritters," managers said, to cover it in glaze so no one would notice. Translation: what looks shiny might actually be stale pastry dressed up in sugar. And let's not ignore the nutrition. Oversized Daylight donuts regularly pass 350 calories and 20 grams of sugar, with some pushing far higher. For seniors dealing with diabetes or high blood pressure, that's a dangerous spike packed into one treat. Add in the possibility of contaminated storage, and you've got a chain that's risky from both ends, nutrition and safety. Would you trust your health to luck? Because at Daylight Donuts, that's exactly what you're doing every time you step through the door. It's not breakfast, it's rolling dice with your gut. And if gambling with your gut wasn't enough, here comes Lamar's gourmet in name, Gut Bomb in reality. At number 3, Lamar's, the chain selling gourmet donuts that are really calorie grenades. The word gourmet suggests premium quality, but here it often just means oversized, overloaded, and unsafe. Would you eat 2 meals worth in one donut? Many Lamar's donuts weigh in at 500 calories or more, before you even add the sugar-heavy fillings or that extra drizzle. For seniors managing diabetes or heart problems, that's a dangerous hit in a single bite. It's not just a sweet treat. It's a sugar spike waiting to send blood pressure soaring. And the kitchens? Inspections have exposed insect activity near prep tables and oil that smelled rancid from being used too long. Customers have reported sticky counters, floors that seemed slick with frying residue, and donuts that tasted off like they were sitting in bad oil. One health inspection noted flies near the glazing racks. That gourmet finish? You might not want to know what landed on it first. Bugs near your breakfast? Still feeling gourmet? Whistleblowers from inside the chain have admitted that cleaning routines were skipped when staff were short on time. "We'd just glaze over donuts and keep the line moving," one employee said, literally glossing over the problem. The sheer size of these donuts also adds to the risk. One maple bar can hit 70 grams of carbs and over 30 grams of sugar. For perspective, that's more sugar than a can of Coke, and you're supposed to pair it with coffee. For seniors on medication, that combination can mean shaky hands, dizziness, and a brutal crash an hour later. Reviews online paint a nasty picture. Pastries described as greasy on the outside, hollow in the middle, with cream fillings that tasted sour and off. Picture biting into what should be a custard-filled donut, only to find it warm, clammy, and already separating inside your mouth. That's not indulgence. That's disappointment wrapped in sugar, a fast pass to indigestion dressed up as dessert. So I'll ask you, what's the biggest donut regret you've had? Share it below, because Lamar's might just top it. Lamar's markets itself as a treat-yourself chain, but too often it treats customers to oversized sugar bombs and unsanitary prep. Gourmet shouldn't mean gambling. From calorie grenades to sticky nightmares, New England's pride is about to melt in front of you. Coming in at number 2, Honeydew. A hometown chain with standards in free fall. Once seen as a New England staple, this brand has been losing ground fast. Customers expected comfort food. What did they get instead? Sticky floors, stale counters, and donuts that taste like they've been around the block twice. Ever eaten something that felt too old? Inspection reports confirm the decline. Stores have been flagged repeatedly for poor cleanliness. Counters left coated in slimy residue, prep areas filled with old ingredients, and storage practices that would make a health inspector wince. One review even described donuts with a cloudy, crusted glaze that crumbled at the touch. That's not sugar, it's decay setting in. Whistleblower-style posts from staff forums mention management cutting corners. "We'd re-serve donuts from the day before," one ex-worker admitted. "If the glaze was cloudy, we'd heat them under a lamp." Translation? What you thought was fresh was just reheated leftovers. But here's the real shocker. Old pastries can harbor mold before you even taste it. For seniors, this is more than gross. Aging immune systems are less prepared to fight off bacteria from pastries that have sat out too long. That jelly donut that tastes just a little off? It could send someone to the ER with foodborne illness. Combine that with sugar counts averaging 20-25 grams per donut, and you've got the perfect storm: blood sugar spikes and possible contamination in one bite. Customers online share the same grim theme: sticky tables, a sour smell near the prep area, and donuts that tasted like cardboard with frosting. Some even said the coffee, meant to be the saving grace, was so bitter it tasted like it had been sitting on a burner all day. So tell us in the comments, would you still eat here if you saw the kitchen? Honeydew trades on hometown nostalgia, but too many stores now serve disappointment coated in sugar. It's not just a bad donut, it's a health risk in a paper bag. Now, coming up next is J.Co Donuts and Coffee, where the sugar overload is paired with international scandal. And trust me, this one will leave your jaw on the floor. At number 1, J.Co Donuts and Coffee, international sugar bombs with shocking hygiene problems. The brand looks sleek on the outside, but inside? The donuts are sugar-loaded grenades wrapped in oily glaze. More sugar than a soda in one bite. A single J.Co donut can pack up to 30 grams of sugar. That's nearly the same as a 12-ounce can of Coca-Cola. For seniors, one pastry means a sudden blood sugar spike, putting dangerous stress on the heart. It's not a snack, it's a fast track to dizziness, headaches, and a nasty crash. Then there's the hygiene. Complaints from multiple locations mention flies buzzing around prep tables, glaze pooling in sticky trays, and oil that looks like black syrup from being used too long. Customers online have shared photos of donuts with a greasy shine and uneven texture, proof that corners are being cut in the kitchen. Still want that glossy glaze when it's swimming in old oil? Whistleblowers from J.Co have admitted the chain often relies on rushed prep. "We'd reuse oil for days," one worker said. "The glaze tubs were left uncovered overnight." That's an open invitation for pests. And the standards? Inconsistent across countries. Some shops look spotless. Others? You wouldn't want to touch the counters, let alone eat from them. For seniors already managing diabetes or hypertension, J.Co's oversized, sugar-heavy donuts are a double blow. One chocolate frosted option was measured at over 400 calories and nearly 18 grams of fat. Pair it with their sugary coffee drinks, and you're hitting more than half a day's sugar intake in one sitting. What's the most unsafe donut shop you've seen? Share your horror stories in the comments, because J.Co might not hold the title forever. This chain sells itself as trendy and international, but too often, what ends up in the box is unsafe, unsanitary, and sugar-soaked. It's not breakfast. It's a health hazard with sprinkles on top. And now that we've exposed the worst offenders, let's flip the story. Not every donut shop is a disaster. Up next are the rare safe picks, the ones where you actually can enjoy a treat without risking your health. Counting up to our first safe choice, we land on local family-owned bakeries, the underdogs that put big chains to shame. These are the spots where freshness still means something. This is where freshness still means something. Unlike the corporate giants, most small bakeries bake daily. That means flour cracked open that morning, eggs broken by hand, and donuts cooling on trays instead of sweating under heat lamps. You taste the difference right away. Lighter dough, crisp edges, and glaze that actually melts in your mouth instead of hardening like plastic. Another win? Preservatives are kept to a minimum. A donut here is made to be eaten today, not shipped across the country or stacked in boxes for a week. It's the old-school model. Sell it fresh or don't sell it at all. For seniors especially, that matters. Fewer additives and fresher ingredients lower the chance of stomach upset or dangerous chemical overload. Hygiene also stays higher because reputations are fragile. In a small town, one bad inspection or a rumor of dirty kitchens spreads fast. So these owners keep counters spotless, oil rotated daily, and equipment scrubbed down. You don't need to worry about sticky glazed trays or flies buzzing near prep tables. Here, cleanliness is survival. And it's not just about food safety. Personal handling matters too. You'll often see the same staff members day after day. They know their customers and they treat the product like something they'd serve their own family. That level of accountability is nearly impossible in chains where workers are rushed and turnover is constant. Of course, no shop is perfect, but the odds are much better. If something's wrong, you'll probably hear about it directly from the owner. And unlike a franchise, they can actually fix it overnight. That's why community trust sticks to these bakeries like glaze on a warm ring. Got a favorite local bakery? Shout them out in the comments. It might just be the safest sweet spot in your neighborhood. And if you're the type who prefers a corporate name with tighter nationwide standards, don't worry. Our next safe pick comes from a place you'll definitely recognize. Climbing to our second safe pick, we land on Whole Foods Market Bakery, the corporate giant that, for once, is actually worth the price tag. Not perfect, but safer than the rest. Whole Foods isn't selling miracle food, but compared to the sticky mess in chain donut shops, it's a breath of fresh air. Their donuts usually have fewer preservatives. Some even carry the organic label, which means no artificial dyes, no mystery oils, and far less chemical clutter. That matters, especially for seniors who already juggle blood sugar, blood pressure, and stomach issues. Food safety here is consistently better because the stakes are higher. Whole Foods is owned by Amazon now, and inspections are frequent. If a store slipped into the kind of grime we've seen at Dunkin' or Tim Hortons, it would make headlines instantly. That pressure keeps kitchens cleaner, counters sanitized, and products rotated before they spoil. The donuts aren't healthy food. Let's be real. A glazed ring still packs sugar. But compared to a Lamar's 500 calorie monster or J.Co's soda in a donut, these are lighter, safer bets. And for seniors or anyone with dietary needs, there are more choices. Gluten-free bakes, vegan-friendly donuts, even reduced sugar options. You won't find those at Shipley or Winchell's. Staff usually care. Whole Foods hires bakers who work on-site instead of trucking in frozen cases from a warehouse. That means less chance of thawed, sweaty pastries, and more chance of something that actually tastes fresh. Reports of slimy counters or insect problems are rare here because the brand would shut a location down fast before letting that slip. Sure, you'll pay extra. A donut might cost double compared to a drive-through chain. But ask yourself, would you pay extra for safer donuts? When the choice is between a greasy glaze in a pest-filled back room and a cleaner, higher-quality option, the math isn't hard. So while Whole Foods isn't perfect, it earns a spot on the actually worth it list. Fresher, safer, and made with more care than most national chains, it's the corporate bakery that actually delivers. And that wraps our countdown: 10 donut chains to avoid. And 2 that might just save your morning. Don't risk your health on bad choices. Subscribe now, and I'll show you what to avoid and what's actually safe every single week.